Punks for Progress. My name is Punker Mike. I am joined by my co-host, Aaron Alvarez. What up, dude?
Hey, bro, what's happening?
Dude, we have a fucking awesome show today.
Right, dude? We have a seriously awesome show.
Like, dude, we're seriously, like, legit punks. we are no longer posers.
Yeah, or we're just, like, way huge geeky fanboys. But
well, there's that too.
Yeah, but, dude, we have Tony from the Adolescents with us today. We have a 3-part interview with him, and he shares a lot of really cool stuff with us. We talk politics. We talk Trump's influence on punk rock, and he also
talk
tells
about
us some,
Reagan's influence on punk rock.
Yeah, all of it, and the changes from Reagan to Trump and punk rock, and then he also was cool enough to share some stuff from his personal life and some battles he went through with his kids in the school district and stuff. So it really is an amazing interview. And he provided the set list that we're using in today's show. So all of these picks
he did.
Are Tony approved and picked musical songs.
This set is the most ut.
So why don't we just get right into it, play some of Tony's songs, and then come back and shoot the shit with Tony, man.
Let's do this. This is ChumbaWumba. Always give the voter what the voter wants to hear.
Always tell the voter what the voter wants to hear.
Welcome to Nevermind the Ballots. The phone lines are now open. If you'd like to put a question to the candidates, the number to ring is 0532 779 463.
You want jobs? I got jobs. Hospitals, top of my list. Tax cuts and Contortions. For every small businessman. Just give me your vote. Just give me your vote. Schools, Britons, of course we'll build them. Condoms for the American GIs. Nuclear reactors, green like rabbits. Police oppression, you'd have it, sir. Just give me your vote. Put your costs in the box. Hello, we've got our first call. Your name's Martin. Hello, Martin. You disagree with our stated policy. Well, Martin's telling the truth. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's outrageous, disgusting. But unlike my colleague on my right, we're the party who'll say what we do what we say. You can bank on us, Mark. Good evening, Shirley. I'm so glad that you've rung. It's a matter that's as dear to me that it is to you. Give me 4 years and I'll get right down to it. Because unlike my little balding colleague on my left, we don't make promises we can't keep. You're still there, Martin? Just one more thing. Give us your vote. You want houses? See me afterwards. Want my autograph? See my bodyguard. Re-election, put you down notes. You want to war? No problem. Just give me your vote.
It's funny how they suckered us, got proudly with their logos.
the multinationals. 2,000 died in Bhopal, India from a chemical leak. Union Carbide cut their losses and saved their necks. The tanker Exxon Valdez wreaked havoc way up north. Exxon shares still held their worth. They run our lives on a demographic chart. They steal our souls from the very start. And my addiction tries to make me buy it all. Death to the multinational. I've had enough. I've had enough. A millionaire jock tries to sell me shoes. I can't jump that high. The banks are set up to keep our money. They keep most of it. The drug companies live like a bunch of junkies off pensioners' money. And my tiny boys, they can stop real fast. They run our lives on a demographic chart. They steal our souls from the very start. And my addiction tries to make me buy it all. Death to the multinational. They run our lives on a demographic chart. They steal our souls from the very start. And my addiction tries to make me buy it all. Death to the multinationals.
All right, that was the Minutemen with Joe McCarthy's
Ghost, man.
Joe McCarthy's
Yeah.
Ghost. And then before that was D.O.A. Death to the Multinationals. And ChumbaWumba, always give the voter what the voter wants to hear. And with us tonight, we have Tony from the Adolescents, White Flag, Ads, Flower Leopards, Godright 73, The Abandoned, and the Sun and Soul Club. Tony.
Sail.
Welcome to Punks for Progress. So I'm sorry, Sun and Sail Club. And the Unpresidential. Tony, welcome to Punks for Progress, man.
Thanks. Hi.
So Tony, you okay? So you picked all the songs that are in our playlist tonight, and so let's talk about those first 3 songs that you threw in there. What was it? ChumbaWumba. Yeah, why'd you pick the songs, bro?
Well, the first block was actually, it's interesting because I was listening to them and on my way home from work, and I was looking for a little chunk of songs that my brother, bands my brother liked, or things my brother would have really enjoyed. And my younger brother was really my brother Troy was really a big fan of ChumbaWumba and a big fan of the Minutemen and a big fan of D.O.A. And which, being my younger brother, he picked up a lot of music from me, but he actually was the one who introduced me to ChumbaWumba, who I hadn't listened to. I'd listened to Crass, and like bands like Poison Girls, but didn't, and Rudimentary P&I, bands like that. But I had not listened to ChumbaWumba.
So I wanted to ask you, actually, Tony, if you don't mind. So there's a connection between Chumbawamba and Conflict, is that right? Because I always understood because I was a huge Conflict fan and still am.
Oh, really? See, I saw Conflict a couple of times, never really listened to their records. But so if there was a connection, I wouldn't have even known, that my brother would have known, but I wouldn't have known, because he was really into a lot of the anarchist punk bands, and so he was Zounds, bands like that. So he was really into that stuff, and so I would through him I started listening to ChumbaWumba and realized, like, wow, this band's really, really something else. And D.O.A., my brother and I used to listen to D.O.A. a lot. I went up to see D.O.A. in, I guess, about 1979 in San Francisco. And when I got home, I told my brother, oh, my God, I saw this band from Canada. They're so great. And we started, going to see him, listening to their records, and we were really, really into them. And the Minutemen, the first time he came to an Adolescents show, he went to a show we played at the Vex, and he met Brett and Brett Gurwitz, and he met Dennis Boone and Mike Watt. So he was meeting these guys in other bands, and they had both of these guys said, hey, this is my band, why don't you check this out? And they gave my brother the Bad Religion EP, and Dennis gave my brother the Paranoid Time EP. So when he brought that home, that got tons and tons of play. Both of those him to death, and all these bands and these songs had really, really strong messages that are really, really, really speak to today as much as they did to really written.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, man, well, then that's a real honor that was kind of your thought process in picking those songs and, an homage to your brother. That's really cool. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
how great on a family show.
For sure. No, for real. And
family show.
But that's a perfect segue too, man, because we wanted to talk about, like, there's a lot of talk. We're not the first ones to mention it, obviously, but how Reagan informed so much of 1980s punk rock. It was like, I'll tell you, at 46, like, Reagan almost is a punk rock image to me. Like, my first early, I was in 4th grade when all that stuff was happening. So, like, my first images of Reagan were either on TV or on punk rock flyers that Uncle Mike brought me. You know what I mean? And, like, so Reagan is almost synonymous. I was a little too young for New York, right, for what happened at CB's and all that stuff. And, England, had happened. But, like, LA, I was like, that was happening right then. And it was obsessed with Reagan. And in the interim years, it seems like punk rock has gone so many different ways. But But now we have this guy Trump in office.
Well, I don't know. The thing with Reagan was for at least for people in California, Reagan wasn't anything new for us. He was almost. It was almost like he was like somebody that you just knew from when you were young, and it was always there. Besides seeing him on television and movies, he was like a governor of California before he became president. So he was in the eye of California for a really long time. And so, when he became president, it wasn't even like something that for me personally, that really had a lot of effect on me until later on in his presidency. It wouldn't be until about, 84 or something, that second time around that I really started to say, hey, you know what, some of the stuff he's doing just isn't up to snuff. But but there were a lot of bands that had really, really strong opinions about the Republican Party in general, but with Reagan in particular. And comparing it to now is to me is really a jump, because what I see now is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life.
That is the truth, man.
Yeah. I've not seen I haven't seen a politician like this ever. I mean, even, out, at least not in a free country.
There's been a lot of pieces of shit in Washington, like really massive, festering, like heaping piles of maggot shit in Washington, but none of it has compared. And
this is completely different.
Yeah, we're in a whole new level of holy shit, what the fuck, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
The thing is with this guy is that I'm actually really curious to see what we'll see in the arts. I mean, already Hollywood's already having a field day. They're having a blast. Saturday Night Live is having a blast. Any comedy show is having a blast. I mean, they are really. They're really roasting this guy, because every single day he does something that you could write, a monologue.
He's a mass of comedian's material. I mean, just
he is. And the only thing that I see as being problematic about that stuff that he does is that he's been very effective in keeping people's attention on all kinds of stuff, except maybe Russia, his Russian connections, and his, failure to actually post the taxes, things that he'd been promising just as much as he had promised that wall. He promised to take care of this tax thing, and just as much as he's promised that, his immigration bans, he's managed to. He's managed to overlook other things that he had promised in his campaign.
So, yeah, it is. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey,
right.
look at what I'm doing over here. Yeah, this is a horrible thing, but in the meantime, I'm gutting the EPA. And
what's like an issue will come out, and he'll, whatever the issue is, because there's just a myriad of them that are negative towards him. And so he'll get asked on it, and literally all he has to say is fake news, and then our media just discusses whether that outlet is fake news or not for 3 days. And meanwhile, we don't talk about the thing that was brought up that he labeled fake news to begin with. And we just move on past it. And then everyone on the left and the right feels all puffed up and sure of themselves, because they have their various stances on what fake news is and what it isn't. And of course, both sides feel that their sources are the best sources. And meanwhile, we're not talking about, like, day after day, these things that basically Steve Bannon is doing, right?
Right.
And which is terrible.
There's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and the Although it's been interesting too watching it was interesting watching them start to sever ties with some of their further right friends that helped them and brought them a lot of publicity and a lot of traffic in perhaps electronic media stuff. These outright guys that they had embraced during the campaign, or at least allowed their input and allowed their fanboydom, which is about the only thing I could really call it. They managed to bring with them these guys a lot of tech knowledge. I mean, they were smart. These were smart guys. They knew how to use the new media.
Very adept capitalists. They're very adept capitalists. Very, very good at being capitalists.
Right. They're marketers, right? They market. That's what they do. And so these guys, they had them in their camp, got everything that they could get from them, and then distanced themselves as quickly as they could from them. Now that the election's done, and they feel that they've got Trump in the pocket, he's confident he's going to be there for a second term. He's already campaigning for it.
He's already campaigning for it.
It blows my mind. Now, meanwhile, anything from everyone from a moderate Republican to a far left communist. I don't think we can't include the anarchists because they don't vote, but everybody should just say, look, we've got a choice here. We can take the middle of the road Democrat that you may or may not think is the best person in the world to be the leader of this country, or you can have Trump. Because the only way that we're going to see this guy get knocked out of it is if everybody from the moderate Republicans all the way to the extreme left need to say, look, we're not going to allow this to happen again. We're going to put in whoever.
Well, so that's impeachment. Right, so that's impeachment.
Put her in office, but don't sit there and fight and split hairs over stuff. You know what? We can work around everything else later on. It's not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to have a communist revolution in 2020.
Damn it!
Let's not worry about it. Let's start looking a little more conservative on that, so that we I just do not want to see this guy go another term. I don't want to see him go another month.
Ditto.
Well, I can tell you, as much as I really wish there would be a socialist anarchist revolution by 2020, I have to agree that I think you're right. It's probably not going to happen. And listen, I do come from the anarchist side of the spectrum, man, and so. No, Hillary, even as much as I like Bernie, none of those are my personal ideal, but I can tell you, and this is in all honesty, yes, I would rather have Reagan or even Bush Jr. than this guy.
Oh, wash your mouth out.
And but the thing is, so I think that, like you alluded to this, Tony, I think that the Republican establishment that embraced all these alt-right pieces of shit, but they are what they are. They're fucking Nazis, so fuck them, okay? And that's who the Republican establishment basically embraced, Breitbart and all these idiots. And then now they're distancing themselves from them. So here on Pugs for Progress, we have no problem donning tinfoil hats. I hope you're okay with indulging the occasional conspiracy theory, but it's really it's speculation, and we like to be clear on what is fact and what is speculation. And when we speculate, we get weird with it. So my thoughts are that the Republican establishment is like you alluded to, they're turning on this alt-right bunch of basically Nazi pieces of shit that they embraced throughout the election cycle. And now they're kind of rallying against them. And I would postulate that they are down for impeaching Trump. And I think that it can serve a couple purposes. One, they can separate themselves from what a fucking utter buffoon he is. And two, if they can focus all the resistance and all these people that are protesting in historic numbers day after day, every weekend, people do, it's Saturday protests now, and this is great. But if they can focus the attention of all that resistance onto just Trump and then kick him the fuck out of office and allow him to not only be impeached, but then removed from office, do they kick out the legs of the quote unquote resistance? And, but at the same time, and then what do we get? Pence? Can we get Pence out with them? Then who do we have? We got Paul Ryan, right?
Oh God.
So
Eddie Munster.
So I think it's a realistic thing that this man may be impeached and ultimately removed from office. So anyway, Tony, there's my tinfoil hat. I'll let you do with that what you will, man.
Well, I believe the same thing. I think that his position right now is to really to push as much insane things through as they can. And this voice thing is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And I can tell you why if you want my opinion on it. But
I would love to.
I never heard anything so outrageous in my life. It's saying that being a victim of one group of people is somehow should be somehow looked at differently than being assaulted by anybody, right? I don't know why Trump has this hyper focus on immigrants, but it's one that I see as being real divisive and being really, really ugly. And it just seems to be getting uglier.
It's Hitler-esque.
The more that things separate, the worse that it seems to be getting. And even within groups, if you had heard, between groups of people, if you had heard the father of the young man that was killed some 10 years ago, and the father was there when Trump put this thing up on the rounds. And his father's discussion isn't really about immigrants; it's about race relations between Latinos and blacks. And I thought, wow, well, how does that have anything to do with being the victim, of being the family of a victim of a violent crime that was committed by somebody that was in the country from another country, an immigrant? How is that at all related to what that father said? It wasn't. The father's talking about relations between Latinos and blacks in this country in general. And the president's pitch is dealing only with crime victims of immigrants. And that could be an immigrant from anywhere. So how are these things related? How is it that this person that they championed as a kind of a thank you spokesperson for what they're putting into effect isn't really talking about a problem that is related to the border? It's a problem that he's alluding to is a problem within the country, within groups of people that they're saying aren't getting along.
No, it's manipulation.
Well, right.
Thing.
It's exploitation.
And it's more that smoke screen. But I agree with you. I think that Trump's going to keep putting stuff like this through. He's going to keep throwing this stuff in there, and some of it's going to stick, and some of it's going to get through, and then he's going to be impeached. I agree with you. He will be impeached, and then and because everybody's focus has been on Trump, right there, that'll take a lot of that pressure off. A lot of people are going to stop paying attention because, well, we can live with the Republicans. It will be the be the response. Well, at least it's not Trump. Not understanding that. No. He was a puppet. He's just up there. Somebody's making him say his hands and head move, and eventually, the puppet won't be there anymore. One of those hands, or all 5 of those fingers, it will be somebody else that's already there that put him there in the first place. This is going to, he'll just be yanked out. It'll just be yanked out. It'll be done.
No, but in the meantime, the House Republicans get all their bullshit budget proposals through and gut Obamacare and destroy the EPA and imprison a bunch of stoner hippies for smoking pot.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting. It's going to be a real interesting few, at least 2 years. Maybe in 2018 we could see a big swing, but
sooner.
Yeah, get comfortable, because even just the impeachment process. Remember how long it took for Clinton to go through that process. It's a long time, And then for them to come down and hand down, yes, let's remove him from office. That's another lengthy process too. So this guy's around for a while, and he's going to continue to do damage day in and day out.
I think that if he's around for a while, it won't be that long. I mean, I think we're already starting to see evidence of there's going to be an impeachment process, started in the next few months. And if the rest of his presidency, he's still, he's in an impeachment process, even if he's not impeached until 3 years down the road, he's going to be on his guard and on his best behavior, because he's going to know that sooner or later that all of this, everything that starts from that impeachment process on, anything that he said from that point on can be used as evidence. So.
He can't even handle an SNL diss. How's this man going to go through the impeachment process and come out?
He doesn't get job reviews. He gives them, right? No one is like to get a job review, right? He's never had one. So it would be really, really funny, because the guy's never had a job review ever.
No, never.
No, he's been the king of his company since he was born.
Yeah, right. From his preschool years.
Hey, Mike, I think this might be a good opportunity to play some more songs. Tony had some songs.
Yeah, he did. Good set.
What do we got coming up?
We got Mule Train coming up with Backdoor.
We have the keys to the back door. they come by my side. They're from the south and there's no place to hide. They're coming from the east and they're coming from the west. Anywhere they come and they're under arrest. Up in the north and they come by my side. They're from the south and there's no place to hide. They're coming from the east and they're coming from the west. Anywhere they come and they're under arrest. Handcuffed like a criminal, but they will never catch my soul. Handcuffed like a criminal, they will never catch my soul. Now in my backyard, there's a man in blue. You know they came for me. Tomorrow maybe you. They cut my plant, they burn my crop. You know they made a big fire with my pot. Up in the north and they come by my side. They're from the south and there's no place to hide. They coming from the east and they coming from the west. Anywhere they come and I'm under arrest. Up in the north and they come by my side. They're from the south and there's no place to hide. They coming from the east and they coming from the west. Anywhere they come and I'm under arrest. Handcuffed like a criminal, but they will never catch my soul. Handcuffed like a criminal, they will never catch my soul. Ain't no justice, ain't no freedom and peace. The DA, yes, come in my garden. Yes, the DA, come in my garden. The DA, come in my garden. Yes, the DA, come in my garden. Hey, Mr. Judge, don't call me sick, don't call me ill. It's my choice, because it's my choice.
That was Burning Heads with Handcuffed. Before that was The Consumers with Anti, Anti, Anti. And we started this set off with Mule Train, Backdoor. And that was by Tony.
Hey.
Tony from the Adolescents and Ads and White Flag and Flower Leopards and Abandoned and Sin and Sail Club. Sun and Sail Club.
Hey, so all right, so I think we could kind of recap as saying Trump's pretty much on his way out, but we still have to pay attention because he's still going to be doing stuff. There's a lot of stuff we're going to have to be fighting between now and then, and it is terrifying. It's okay that you're terrified, listener, because we are too.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important that that we keep track every day of some the things that he's saying, but more importantly, the things that are happening, that are popping up in the news that are going on that may not be his primary focus. And for me, like when I watch the news, I watch like RT, I watch ABC, and I feel like that's fine for me. That's all the TV news I need. I get one channel from Russia, one channel from the United States.
We love RT. Love RT.
And I do. And I'll watch BBC just to get a third opinion. But the most of the stuff though that in politics and media has always been for me what I got from reading, because I like to read. And as time has gone on, as you guys know, but the kids may not know, but you guys certainly do, that we went from a paper media to an electronic media,
right?
In what, maybe 15 years, to the maybe within 12 to 15 years, the paper media completely disappeared. And for me, that was, and it can't be just me. For me, that was a huge blow, because I got so much of my information from reading newspapers.
No, that's
maybe listening to the
I
radio.
can tell you. Well, I would tell you, it would drive me nuts when I would say something to my son, and he'd pull out his phone and prove me wrong, like in like 4 seconds. No doubt, that's not right. And now I'm arguing with Google, and so it took me a minute to realize that actually my kid's onto this really great resource and tool, and to embrace it rather than be like, nah, that's not my newspaper, or and. So I can totally relate to what you're, the adjustment to like how we consume our information,
Right. And see, the thing is that with paper media, for music, it might be, depending on how long for a fanzine it took them to get from start to finish, could have run the process of 5 weeks to the day it was released, and then, or 10 weeks to the point it was released, and then add on, a couple weeks whenever I went and bought that piece of history to read. And the thing is you'd be looking back on something that was in the last 2 months, or the last month if it was a magazine. And if you're reading the paper, it was what was going on in the world in the last 12 hours, not what was going on right this second. When you had a time, you could read an editorial, and maybe 2 or 3 if you read more than one paper. Think about it, synthesize it a little bit, come up with relate to it in some way, and done. You've either accepted that editorial, that you support what that person said, or you don't. And that's the end of it. You move on to something else. But now we're bombarded with so much news and so many opinions and so much information and misinformation that it's really, really hard to sift through it and understand what is real and what isn't real. And I think that idea of fake news it only sounds ludicrous because it sounds so it sounds like it's stated so.
Well, I would say,
So
what it does, it gives.
I guess is the word to say.
You're so right. Well, I was just going to say, you're so right that it's overwhelming what you just described. And how do you know? Because you don't have Edward R. Murrow anymore that you can trust day in and day out. And plowing through all that which you just described and trying to find a source that you can trust and know you're not lying to, it's really daunting. And so when Trump comes out and says it's all fake news, what it does is it tells a lot of people, they can just kind of go, it's all bullshit. It's all just bullshit. I don't have to pay attention to any of it. It's all bullshit. And it's like a load off their mind. And then he says, don't sweat it. I'll fucking tweet you at 5 a.m. and let you know what you need to know.
with another distractor to take your head somewhere else, and meanwhile he's got he's turning the DEA into pot sniffers, and then
oh my God,
and he's talking about hiring maybe something in the neighborhood of 40,000 people to work the borders. and to deal and work in the immigration. Man, what are they trying to kill any tourism in this country? Just absolutely kill it? Because I'll tell you, the worse and worse it gets to fly around in this country, the less and less I'm going to do it. And so, and I'm somebody that travels to other cities in the country and spends a lot of money and supports local businesses and that's what I call recreation. And if it becomes such a pain in the ass to fly, and to travel, shit, I don't have to go anywhere. I live, I live in Southern California. People come here.
Right.
So,
right.
I think he's killing tourism in the country just by doing this. Besides, embarrassing us, but the insanity of some of the things that he does and says, and some of the things that he's allowing to take place, truly mind-boggling. But the idea of fake news, I can understand exactly what you had said. The idea that I'm sorry, hold on, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Well, so I was talking about how it's a pacifier to call it fake news, and how it lets people kind of be lazy and not be deciphering and
right. Yeah, and they don't, and I also don't know if they have enough time to actually, I agree that that's part of it, but I think that in a lot of ways, I agree that it excuses some people, that gives them the excuse to say, well, if the president said it's fake, then I don't have to pay attention to it, because those guys, all the media are a bunch of lying motherfuckers, and they're just trying to, they're trying to ruin our country. And then you have another group of people that know that it's not true, and they choose to not support anything with fact, and they produce incorrect information for whatever reason, whether it's to push through an agenda or to be an anarchist or whatever, right? Just to throw a wrench into what.
Well, right,
and makes the jams the cogs. But it's the.
Well, I know. So kind of where I'm at, man, is like I have to be perpetually bombard myself with what he does day in and day. In other words, be aware of what he's doing. Right. It's damage control when I turn on Democracy Now! And Amy Goodman in the morning. All right, damage report, and but at the same time, it's all about getting out and doing other things. Mike's super involved in a lot of community activism stuff in Redlands, and I am in Reno, Nevada, and like we just stay focused on that stuff, and then and stay aware, do what best you can to stay aware. But I can't focus on 100% all day anti-Trump mode. It would destroy me emotionally, So there's ways like Michael going to his city council meeting, even if they're not addressing anything to do with Trump, is him being active in the resistance against Trump. It is all part of the larger, mechanisms of defying him. And so what I kind of wanted to talk about, Tony, if it's cool with you, is you've had a well publicized in the LA Weekly and stuff, kind of a fight with your local school board. I know the issue's kind of old, but if you're cool with it, I'd like to come back and maybe
yeah, definitely. Let's play a few songs and come back and talk about that. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great. All right, Tony. This is a set of your bands. A couple of Adolescent songs and a band called Unpresidential with Inauguration Day.
Cool.
So let's play those and talk about them. Come back and talk about them.
Gentler plan. this fucked up game. Fact check, this started 4 to 6. The cyber rock marches with way bigger dicks. Inauguration day. Inauguration day. The time is now and there's hell to pay. Inauguration day.
All right, those were two songs by the Adolescents. Dish Served Cold and Escape from Planet Fuck. And before that was Unpresidential with Inauguration Day. And we are here with Tony from the Adolescents, White Flag, Ads, Flower Leopards, God Ride 73, The Abandoned, and the Sun and Sail Club.
And you were in Led Zeppelin too, right? Weren't you in Led Zeppelin?
Only a couple of days. We'll put it in the resume. How would that be on a resume, right? I was in a band called Led Zeppelin.
So talk to us about those tracks, man.
Well, let me hold on just a minute. I'm grabbing a piece of paper. The Dish Served Cold was from our last record to come out in the United States, and the track was about the Kelly Thomas incident, the murder of Kelly Thomas.
Oh, right, right.
Fullerton, California, right, and really that record was really an homage to Kelly and to his family, who had really had to live out a lot of really painful stuff the family in a public arena, and of course for Kelly just to be brutally killed the way that he was.
Do you know what he's talking about?
No, I was going to say if you're from California, Mike, so I'm sure you're familiar with it.
I'm very aware of it. Yes,
I'm not familiar with the story.
He was homeless and he was developmentally disabled.
Okay.
And he was approached by a bunch of cops, and they fucking shot him. They hassled him. They were trying to kick him out of where he was, and he wasn't. He wasn't understanding. And
right.
they fucking shot him.
He was beaten to death, and he was beaten to death, and he had mental illness, and was homeless, and it was it was a really horrible incident, and that was caught on tape, and of course the system takes care of its own. These men were acquitted in the
right.
beating, and
his dad has spoken out about it on numerous occasions.
Right, and he's been really active in getting in helping to secure funds and change the way people look at the homeless, and he's it's just been when the record came out, it was a journey to there, and from there to here, that family's gone through what I would call a lifetime again. It's just so. In any event, and then Escape from the other track was Escape from Planet Fuck was the last record that we released here. Actually, it was released in Germany. We haven't released it here yet, that and another song on the record were really kind of pre-Trump foreshadowing, I would call them. I didn't really think Trump had a shot in hell.
You and me both.
But I tried to imagine a world where a world of Trump, and unfortunately. The world of Trump that I imagined was nothing even close to what the world of Trump is.
It's like remember when we had normal, real, everyday problems? I mean, we still have those. Yeah. But now
they haven't gone anywhere. So actually, if you really, if you, going back, all the way back to, Trump and Reagan, I think that we're going to see, if we saw a nice explosion of music in the Reagan years, I think what we're going to see in the Trump years is going to blow everyone's mind, because you're not going to just get it from us now. It's going to go, you're going to see it in the Lady Gagas, and you're going to see it in the Beyoncés, and you're going to see it in everybody.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see it in all of you.
Joey Shithead was quick. Joey Shithead was quick. He had fucked up Donald out before he was even elected, man. On 7-inch too.
Yeah. But see, that's what I mean. I mean, there's going to be, it's not going to be just, Joe, belting it out to a crowd of 1,000. It's going to be like these mega stars doing it, right? Doing it all over, all over the world. I would not want to be, the target of that much.
Oh, I couldn't. Could you imagine, man? I mean, like just being in the public eye at all, you get negative stuff, and it's always hard. But
that's why, that's why he's in the bubble he's in. I bet that's why.
Well, I mean, the Women's March was basically the masses of feminine humanity going, "Hey, Donald, fuck off, dude, fuck off." I mean, what does that even feel like to have, an entire gender tell you to go fuck yourself?
Yeah, and not just in the United States.
Right. Globally.
I don't know.
So I think,
for a macho guy like him, it must be really something else. It was really bugging.
And it should give us hope, man. It should give us hope. People aren't taking it.
Yeah, no, they're not. They're not. And so I'm really excited about, what I think. But I think that this is going to be a lot bigger than what we saw in the Reagan years. Because in the Reagan time period, the punk rock, it was the punk rock bands. It wasn't the metal bands. The new metal bands. It wasn't the new metal bands. It was just the punk bands.
It was punk rock.
And and then by the time you started hearing more political metal, when they started getting, you would hear stuff that would be, it would have been the beginning of the Democrats coming in, So I don't know. I don't know that they had that, that anybody else had that. But now you're going to see it in all the genres. You're going to see it in metal bands. You're going to see it in punk bands. You're going to see it in dance music. It's going to be everywhere. This guy, you're going to be bound by the way that Ministry did with Trump, right?
Right.
I mean, with Reagan, right? I mean, with Bush. Sorry, the way that they did with
the
New
World Trade,
Order,
yeah,
right?
WTO, New World Order.
Right.
Well, and the thing is that music's going to be bitching because, like, people are going to be impassioned. They're going to be really genuinely angry and pissed off, and dude, that's why I fell in love with, the music you and all your friends were doing in LA, man, because it was like genuinely like, oh hell no, fuck off, and this is why fuck off, and it was totally inspiring. I mean, and I'm already seeing youngsters who were just like, no, oh fuck no, like it's just a refreshing attitude to see.
Yeah.
But hey,
well,
dude, it was fun. It was fun to grow up doing it. I'll tell you, it was fun.
Yeah.
Well, let's play a couple more songs and then come back and talk about the school board.
The kids, yes, that's
talk
right.
about the kids.
I love that idea.
This is the Guantanamo School of Medicine.
What up, Jello?
Yeah.
Thank basic human rights that don't mean nothing anymore. Got you back down on the floor to the WTO. The rich get richer, poor get poorer. Factory, a PhD. You allowed termites now. Laptop is your boring chain till we downsize you away. Drop the home is everywhere. Your best friend is on mouse. Electronic plantation. Electronic plantation. Electronic plantation. Electronic plantation. Oh, oh, no!
It's time to live and it's time to die. It's time to live and it's time to die. It's time to live and it's time to die. It's time to live. Revolution action. What are we gonna go for? What are we gonna go for? What are we gonna go for? Revolution action. What are we gonna go for? What are we gonna go for? What are we gonna go for? Revolution action.
Welcome to step one. I can wait no longer. Let's make it happen.
Another investigation of our generation. Survive information.
Let's take a century.
Targeted at the White House like a bullet from a gun. Erase my life from scratch. But at least we will leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Things feel empty lately.
You have put your dreams to sleep, Malcolm.
Perhaps in the anal retentive phase, the relocation of your head inside your rectum has indeed evoked feelings of hollowness.
Go, right, don't take it. I will I won't think.
There's something wrong out there, sir.
What do you mean?
Everybody's losing their faces.
We really ought to investigate, Malcolm.
Revolution action. What are we gonna go for? Revolution action. What are we gonna go for? Revolution action. What are we gonna go for? Revolution action. Yeah. Revolution action. Action. Revolution. Action. Action. Revolution. Action. Revolution. Action. We got to. Are you ready? Shoot the pain with a knife between my teeth. That'll leave you jaw blow. Coming at ya. Coming at ya. Flaming arrow. Better than regiment terror. Coming at ya. Coming at ya. With a gun pointing at my head, I realized what I could get instead. What are you gonna go for? What are you gonna go for? What you wanna go for? Revolution action! What you wanna go for? What you wanna
All right, that was Atari Teenage Riot with.
Holy crap! Oh, no,
Dude.
just hold on. Holy crap with that video.
That's something.
That was some of the most disturbing. What the hell did I just watch? Amazing, man.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh man, that is so cool. Sorry, go ahead. What else did you play there?
Guantanamo School of Medicine with Jello Biafra. We played the electronic what did I play?
You played like the updated version with the
yes,
right.
the Trump video and
right.
Yeah. So so Tony,
yeah, we played with those guys in the summer. I really, we've done a couple of shows with them overseas, not here, but what a great band they are! Oh my God, they're really, really good, and their material is awesome. It's nice that they throw in, a couple of catalog things of Jello's old stuff, but man, their records are really great, and they're amazing, amazing band live. Really, really like them.
I'm absolutely wholeheartedly agree. It's not an extension of Dead Kennedys. It's nothing like that. It's its own amazing entity unto itself. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, it was cool. I got to bring my son to see them, and I was trying to explain. I go, this guy's somebody that I used to go see when I was a teenager, and
sure.
And I said, I'm not just a few years younger than him, but it seemed like a whole generation to me, because I just felt that Jello was this amazing figure, and I do, but I just was
I totally get it.
Just so impressed with it, running for mayor, the whole thing,
right?
The whole thing. And then when I started reading his lyrics, and I heard him, I talked to him, and I heard him talk, and he shared ideas with me, and I was just like, man, this fucking guy's amazing. This is a really neat dude.
No, I gotta tell you,
feel
man.
That way. Last time I sat down with him, and I felt the same way. Just I've become a little more, a little slower in my old age, so he just can't see the fanboy inside me,
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. That was total fanboy moment for me, man, because he had that same influence on me too, man, and it made me want to know. It made me want to know more. And so to hear another person that I look up to have that same experience with him, that's really cool to hear, man. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Me too.
But you brought up the generational thing, and we're all parents. I got college age kids. Mike's got you have kids, and so you went through a pretty serious struggle a few years back, and so I just kind of wanted to give you an opportunity to explain that a little and maybe get us up to speed, because I don't know if there was much press after the LA Weekly article. I wasn't able to find much after that. So anyway, I'll let you take it there and explain there. And
it's such a long story, and it's so complicated. But really, what had happened was the local school district had tried to take one of my children and place him into a non-public setting that we didn't agree with. He had been in a general education program his whole life. But he does have autism, and at the time he was a preschooler. We had him in preschool and in classes, so he started to he started to do what children with autism do. And, for him, a lot of it was communication, driven. So the responses weren't weren't the best for him. He was a physical kid, but
well,
he didn't do well.
If I might, Tony, I have some
He
experience.
just didn't do well with people like handling him and pinning him down and
Sure.
holding him down and
Oh my
and,
God.
and as that progressed, we started to get more and more active with the district. But about how we started at first being very nice, saying, look, there's certain ways that you can help a child that's in crisis, but none of you have been trained. We want you to do that. Please do that, and let's go ahead and do this the right way. The way that the law says to do it. Well, they didn't want to do it that way, and then they eventually his school experience started to go off the rails because they weren't providing his services the way that they should have been provided. And in the process, we ended up with an army of helicopter moms here putting around a petition to move one of the kids out of the school, and when everything came into fruition, it turned out that they had been working with the full knowledge of the school principal, and they had been in contact with the head of special education and talked about our child. So they had violated our confidentiality all over the place, and essentially put us into a very, very strong defensive mode when they started to say they're going to move one of the kids to a really a non-public school that I would call more like a step above a detention center, and that's not an exaggeration. That's the way I feel about it. But this went on, and when we found out ultimately that a board member had also talked about our child and the superintendent of the school district, all their top people and the head of the special education department had all talked to at least one couple, man and husband and wife, about our child, and they had violated his confidentiality. Well, in order to try to cover up a lot of the stuff, they tried to push us out of the district into this non-public school, so that they could put the fire out, the fire with that parent, and also the fire that was starting, the embers that were starting to burn when we found out that they had been violating our child's rights. And so eventually what happened was we started picketing board meetings, picketing at district functions, that when they were patting themselves on the back and telling themselves what a great job they've done, we just show up uninvited. They had Marley Matlin was at one of their functions that they had where they were saying great job to their special education department. So we showed up with picket signs, and when we showed up, Marley Matlin had to go into another part.
And ski masks.
Oh yeah, we went to a board meeting and showed them. I said, this is what it feels like when people in your neighborhood are spying on you, and calling the school district up and talking about you and your kids. And I go, it looks like this, and it feels like this. And myself and my wife and our friends put on ski masks. There was about 15 of us, and it was. This is striking. This was a really striking kind of thing. And I put my face back and I said, of course I don't need this. You know who I am, but we don't know who's doing this to us. And we're telling you that we need your help with this. Ultimately, we have spent so much time and so much energy and so much to keep him in the school district that, by the time he got the youngest got to the 5th grade, we were like, you know what, we're done. We're done. We need to get out of here. So we found, we did find a setting for him that was good, and it was what he needed. And he starts school late. He's got a lot of control over his education. The number ratio is very, very small to instructor to child. I mean, really small, almost like really, really, really small.
That's excellent.
But it's just it's really good for him. And what ended up happening is we pulled. My oldest child had graduated, and so my other two boys, I have two boys and a girl. My two boys ended up going to this school, and they'll finish out their school years there in a setting that I think is I think that we all agree is the best place for him. So, he's doing really, really well. But it was really, really tough because, at the time we didn't know, who was doing this to us. And when these articles started coming out, when they came out in local blogs, and we can go back to talking about media and blogs in a little bit, but we found it being very effective, in outing a lot of bullies when we were saying, like, look, this is happening to our child, and then their parents would go into these blogs and just attack us,
and just say horrible, horrible, horrible things. Like the freedom to just be the nastiest people they could be.
Yeah, there's some and some of these people, it was like, with some of these people, I realized, like, these are the people these are the people that live around me. This is what I'm surrounded by. And that was a real eye opener. That was an eye opener. It blew my mind, but, when we were talking a little bit about the fake news thing, what I was, what I wanted to share a little bit also on the confusion of so much media is that a lot of people are learning to read in this media right now that didn't have the proper training on how to think logically. I mean, read logically and to make logical conclusions and have logical debates. And it's kind of frightening because if you don't have those abilities, it becomes very easy to become defensive, of course, right away. But also it becomes counterproductive to any kind of growth. If a person reads something and they just believe it, it's always blown my mind because I've never believed everything I read. I've always questioned what the motive was of the person. Like, I don't believe there's anything called unbiased news. I think you could film something, an event, if you filmed it straight on as the event's happening, the minute that I watch it, it's been what I'm going to report to you is biased immediately by my life experience. So it's not really whether or not news is fake, is whether or not news is even plausible. It's almost a philosophical thing. Is it real or not real? Isn't even a question anymore. It's just what it is. It's what we take out of it. And if we don't know how to tell propaganda from our own interpretation of something, we're in deep shit. We're in big trouble as a human race, because there's no hope if we can't at least solve that much.
Well, wow. I mean, well, first of all, I want to tell you, Tony, that how much I appreciate you just sharing your story, because, it's one thing to be in a band and play on a stage and have people like your records. And it's another thing to talk to those people about your kid. Like, my kids are just off limits. My kids are off limits, man. You know what I mean? And so just the act of that, I just want you to know that I appreciate you even being willing. You were forced into a public eye over your children. That just sounds excruciating, whatever the circumstances of it.
It was tough. That was rough because, I knew what was happening was wrong. I knew the law well enough in special education law to know what they were doing was wrong. I tried, and Mary tried to force, I would say forcefully explain, and I don't even know if it was even that much. We were trying to explain in a way that they would understand, like, what you're doing is illegal. We're not making a big deal out of it. We want you to take these steps so that no one gets hurt. We don't want our child to be hurt. This is with the school. We don't want our child to be hurt. We don't want anyone else to be hurt trying to contain him. And what comes back is nothing about our desire to make sure that things are in place to make sure that no one gets hurt. What comes back is our child can't be controlled and he's going to hurt someone.
Well, right.
And it's like a whole different, it's a whole different thing.
And I did want to address that because here's the thing too, is I think a lot of people who don't have to deal or don't have children that are somewhere on the Asperger or autism spectrum, it's very important though to understand how to interact with kids like that, because it can be a quick escalation to serious problems if it's not going the way that their brain functions and can adapt to it. And so they can feel very trapped. And so then they might lash out. And then guess what? Now he's the kid who lashes out. He's the kid who has the problems. And it's like, well, but maybe if you would educate yourself a little bit and understand if you'd have just addressed him in this way, or maybe listened to him when he said this or that and been a little more patient and figured out how to maneuver or navigate, how to communicate with this kid, there wouldn't have been the escalation. Because the escalation is going to happen if you don't handle it right, because that's how their brain is wired. And it's not a dysfunction. It's just understand the different ways brains are wired, right? And then for all of that to have to be a public struggle, man, that's just... that was, that really was a drag. And, and mostly because I knew that we're at the point where if we didn't publicly shame them for what they were doing, that we were, we did not have the resources to take them to court. We had gone to a couple of different places to try to resolve it, and realize, like, this is going to cost a lot of money if we're going to do this. And if we're going to do this, then we need to make sure that they know that we're going to let everybody on Earth know what happened here. Like, this happened in a city, that would like to pride itself in being, very inclusive and very progressive. And they ended up just looking like a bunch of, snooty, uptight, unforgiving people, and which is fine. That's what I think of them. But, in the long run, now that it's all done and I look back on it, it's like a lot of good came out of it. It made a lot of people with children on the spectrum understand that they, when they saw that we were dealing with that they weren't by themselves, and that it was okay to stand up and say, hey, you know what, I'm proud of my kids, and the way you're treating my children is not acceptable. And the way that you're talking to me for defending my child is not acceptable. Sure. And if you're going to be an asshole, and I'm going to be an asshole. I mean, I did a puppet show one day. I showed up at a meeting, and I pretended like I was the city I live in, ostracizing my child. So this parent bully group, and I had them all as chicken McNuggets on popsicles.
and I did this puppet show. Right. So I just, I wanted to be, I did as many things that inside joke, Dada, ridiculous things that I could do in a 1.5 minute to 3 minute, public, public speaking time. And so I'd show up, and in the first minute I'd do something really ridiculous, but it would always be forked on, no matter what. If I had to stay on their topics, I'd talk about the topic for 2 minutes, and then I'd talk about my topic for 5. Right. And so, so I'd really, I'd get up there and I'd give them, I'd let them know what was going on and what, and how they were involved in this. What happened. One of the things I learned was how to go to a public meet, how to deal in public meetings, city meetings, what was okay and what wasn't okay. I broke pretty much all the rules. I know better now, but at the time I didn't, so I considered it all right. But in the long run, I learned the right way to do that kind of stuff if I ever wanted to play by those rules. And what do you call them? Roy Rogers rules or whatever. I don't know. What do they call me? Robert's rules.
Robert's rules. There you go.
Yeah, Roy Rogers. Roberts.
Yeah, Robert's rules.
But in the end, though, one of the board members, actually 2 of them, but one of them, came over to sit down and go over some things with us. And when he did, he said, well, I have a son. He's, this many years old. Can I bring him along with me? We're going to, he's with me today. Is it cool if I bring him? And, the only feedback he had ever had about my child was bad. Like everything he had heard from other people was bad. The teachers at the schools.
Right.
He's the board. He's the board member, right? So he hadn't heard good things. If he had heard anything, it wouldn't have been good. But he was totally cool bringing his kid over to hang out with my son, who was the same age, and they became friends, and they're friends to this day. And so to me, like those were like that kind of stuff. Like we made a friend. My child made a friend, and I made a friend with somebody who was able to see past a lot of stuff. Really, really cool, really, really neat. And it was just, to this day, I just, that's the best. Good things did come out of that, now that I look back. But, we had to work up to it, and it took a long time. And it was, really, really discouraging for, for a few years. Because we really tried to play, we really tried to accommodate them instead of them, accommodating the school instead of we live 2 blocks from the school, instead of them really accommodating us who are the neighborhood, for the people that live here. So it was just kind of, it was kind of a sad time. And it was really sad to have to do that out front. But the kids, all 3 of them, felt pretty strongly about what was going on, and they would go, they would speak, they would picket. My youngest was picketing. This first picket was 8 years old for himself.
Little revolutionary, raise him right.
Yeah, for himself, and he was doing it at a function of the city function where they had all the top brass of all the civil services in Pasadena at a meeting, and my 8-year-old was out there, standing up for himself with, saying, hey, I got bullied by grown-ups at my school. Why don't you care about this?
Well, I'll tell you, Tony, I'll tell you, it's, so that whole process, I so much appreciate you again sharing it because one, you talked about it'll let other people know, hey, that have kids on the spectrum. Look, I can relate to what you went through. I have a very similar story. I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but it was really nice to hear that someone had had a very similar confrontation with the school and were treated like, first of all, I'm the old punk rocker too. So I walk in the door and they're like, well, he's the one with the attitude and the problem, and he's got the kid that acted up. And it's like, no, you're just not dealing with them right. So just hearing it from another person, it was empowering and makes me feel justified in the way I handled it back then. But it also, I think it's indicative, man, of like kind of how you get things done on planet Earth, whether it's under democracy or feudalism or whatever. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be tough. You can't be quiet, and it's not going to be easy. And it's going to, your family can get drawn through it, and there can be a lot of heartache, and there's, and the payoff in the end might not even be what the intended goal was. It might be all the periphery influence that you had because you stood up and did something. That your kids should have at least gotten the lesson, hey man, my dad will do anything. He'll stand up for me no matter what. And that's how you do it. And that can be inspiring. And so, dude, Tony from the Adolescents and 9 other bands, including Led Zeppelin, you came on our show.
Dude.
That was,
right on.
Wow, that was so cool, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and bring all that fucking great music and share your personal
I'm glad you guys
stuff,
liked it.
man.
Glad you liked it.
Oh, for sure. And listen, go ahead.
That band, I got to tell you, that band Mule Train, those guys, they're the singer guitar player, Mario, he's an artist that has done the last 5 of our albums, and that's his band, and that's how we met. And he had done a flyer for a show when we played in Madrid years ago, and I really, really liked it. So I asked him to do some artwork for one of our albums, and he's been doing them for us ever since. Great,
it's
great,
beautiful art. He's amazing.
Yeah,
and just so our listeners know, I literally everything I could find on YouTube that said Adolescents on it is in a playlist called Punks for Progress with Tony from Adolescents. I found like every interview, whatever albums, anything. So there's a playlist in there that corresponds with this show. It's got all the music that Tony picked for the playlists and the songs that we played in the show. Those are also in the playlist. And like, I think there's 7 or 8 Adolescents albums in there. And so, check it out and get to know Tony.
Out.
Yeah.
Right on.
So cool. Thank you so much, Tony. Let's have you come back on later down the road, and we'll talk about wow, Trump got impeached and we called it. And we'll have Tony come back on and we'll talk about it.
Yes. Well, hopefully it'll be sooner and not as later as you think it might be.
Yeah, the sooner we get Trump impeached, because I want Tony from the Adolescents on my show.
I wonder what the Las Vegas odds are. I'm going to start gambling again.
There are odds. I don't know what they are, but there are odds.
I'm sure they've changed.
And they're talking like 6 months, a year. Like that's what the odds, the time frame on the Vegas odds. Hey man, it's been great. Thank you so much, Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
All right, dude. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Thanks a lot.
You take care.
You too. Bye.
Melodrama. Sung by Mr. Benny King for I Who Have Nothing. can only watch you with my nose. Pressed up against the window pane. I have nothing. I know must watch you go dancing by. When you be on with somebody else and darling it's I. Oh, love you. Oh, love you. Love you. I have nothing. Oh, less than nothing.
I hear about a new song with Dave Wakeling sing earlier. It says she was a riversider. Hey!
Different story. One noche. It's already a pretty good party, but you know what? It's never a full party until somebody's ruined a perfectly good Motown song. So without further ado, and all apologies due, sorry, Smokey! Tears of a
So that was the English beat, Tears of a Clown, and that was live, and I recorded that at Romano's in Riverside. What do you think of that, dude? That was pretty cool,
That was
huh?
so great, dude. And people got to check out the other video, too, that you got, because it's pretty cool, man.
It was me acting like a drunk fuck in front of the band,
Well,
but whatever.
Without question, that's true. But the dude took the phone and filmed, and all the guys were saying hey and to you and stuff, and like filmed from the stage with your phone and stuff. It was really cool. So that's the other video that you guys can check out in Mikey's videos.
Right, and I don't know if you know the whole story on that. My sister and her husband came to town, and they know the drummer because he skis and snowboards in Utah where they live, and so they know him from that, and so that's how we got hooked up. And my sister happened to be in town, and I'm like, dude, the beat's playing. Let's go see the English beat. She's like, oh, I know the drummer. I'll get you. I'm like, bullshit. She totally fucking did. She got us in.
Wow.
Man, we got to hang out with him. I can't remember what his name is.
Yeah.
We all hung out.
I think his name is Dude That Plays Drums.
Dude that plays
English
drums
beat.
for the beat. Well, for Dave Wakeling, anyways. And then Sasha's the name of the guy that took the place of Rankin Roger. And Sasha was the guy that grabbed my phone and went up on stage and was filming everybody and filming me acting like an ass in the crowd and like loving it because they were, Rankin full stop. It was great.
Yeah.
It was just a really great show and a good time hanging out with my sister and her husband. So, and then before that was a video you filmed. You got to go see James Chance.
Yeah, dude, that was so cool. Like, and it was like a rough choice that night, and I was,
I remember you telling me.
Visiting my girlfriend, and there was this great goth show. There was an Alter DeFay and like a couple other kind of, which are an old goth band, Bay Area goth band, like from the '80s and whatnot, and a couple of the like more premier current goth bands opening. And I was pretty much all set. I was like, you know what, I'm going to that. I'm here in town. I'm going. And that was actually in San Francisco. And then like someone else posted something actually in a Reno goth page on Facebook that James Chance was in Sacramento. And where my girlfriend is essentially kind of midway between Sac and San Francisco. And so
basically
it's like,
Bay Area.
Okay. So fuck it, man. James Chance is one of a very small handful of people who essentially invented no wave or what became post-punk or whatever the hell you want to call it. But James Chance and the Contortions they're totally a groundbreaking, very underknown, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure there's a better word than underknown. But
unknown.
Well, they're not unknown.
Less known.
I mean, they're super respected, and James Chance himself has been in some pretty like top-notch punk rock documentaries and stuff. And I mean, they've gotten the proper recognition, and there's a book about no wave and post-punk. I can't think of what it's called right now, which has a whole section about James Chance. But anyway, so it was like, okay, how often do you get to see someone that helped create an entire genre, And so I went to that, and he was
Well,
just
dude,
incredible,
you
dude.
gotta
He was
go.
so incredible. Oh, he was so good. He was so good, and he totally like, man. Okay, so here's the thing, dude. He's a cantankerous old fuck, bro. Okay,
I like cantankerous old fucks.
and yeah, and he like he walked by me. I'm like, hey, Jams. He's like, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, and just he just kept walking by, and then there's he. When he first got up, he plays keyboards, he plays sax, he sings and stuff, and the keyboard, for whatever, it got stuck on some loop that it was playing that he most assuredly did not like, bro. And he was flipping. He was so losing his shit. And it was like everybody in the band was like, if it was anybody else, dude, people would be like, I'm not putting up with this bullshit. This guy's acting like an idiot. But instead, they were really like, dude, you get to fucking act that way because you're James Chance. And they were so like incredibly accommodating to him and like patient with him and stuff. And it's not like, I don't want to exaggerate it too much, dude. It's not like he's some out of control fucking piece of shit asshole or anything. And they ripped, and he's just no frills, no bullshit. He just wants to play songs and get the fuck out. You know what I mean? And like, anyway, they were just so good, dude. And like, they finally got his keyboard figured out and got it to stop doing the loop. And like, I have footage of this little interaction, and maybe for an outtakes show, which we do have some outtakes with Tony.
We have a couple, yeah.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
so,
well, we've got I recorded the whole chit chat between the three of us before we started actually recording the show. So
if you're listening, Tony, don't worry, dude. We're not nothing, controversial or weird. They're just, stuff that was kind of cool, fun things that we just kind of happened to babble about when we were.
We're fucking fanboys. What are you gonna say?
That's what it is.
Yeah,
dude.
man.
But yeah, so anyway, there's some live video from English Beat and James Chance and the Contortions, and then there's two more James Chance videos on our page in Aaron's videos.
Right.
So total of 3.
Yeah, check out our videos, dude. And we're going to Punk Rock Bowling. I can't wait.
Oh, it's gonna be sick. It's gonna be.
Thanks, Kylie.
Yeah, full on. And so
our production assistant.
Yes. More than that.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of.
We'd be like
meager, a meager title.
We don't have functioning tech brain.
We have a tech monkey.
Yeah, we do. And who actually hit me up recently and said, "Hey man, when you want me on, I'm ready to start doing research on weird ass conspiracy theories and the various things that Lee always brings us." And like, God, what did he bring us last time? Was like the weirdest down the rabbit hole, like international online puzzle maze of intrigue. Anyway, just the weird
that was
stuff.
Craziness.
Not that Lee
chick
tries to sell us on conspiracy theories. It's just that he tells us about these crazy, weird concepts that are out there.
We need to have him on again.
And, so he was
do another music show and have him pick a playlist.
Yeah. Sounds good. So anyway, dude, we hung out with Tony from the Adolescents. That was really great. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you so much for sharing us a story, about your family and what you went through, we're gonna put links to Autism Spinks in the description box for this video, and it also is apparently like autism awareness and for people Asperger's and people on the spectrum. So please check the links.
Woohoo! Hashtag ADHD.
Yeah, totally. So anyway, that was a really, really fun show, and I think that we should be pretty stoked on ourselves. You know what, man?
We're not posers anymore.
No, well, we totally are. But the thing is, and Mike tweeted a dude that we grew up listening to and said, "Hey, man, want to come on our podcast and talk politics?" And Tony was like, "Yeah." It really was that difficult. That was the extent of how that went down.
Hey, so, you know what? I did the same for the Dolly Rots. And check that show out, too. Check out our Antifa show. God, that show turned out great.
Yes, it sure did.
And the Kahuna Chris show turned out good.
Yep. So there's lots of good stuff.
Oh, wait. What the fuck?
What?
What the fuck?
Oh, we have a brand new show that we're doing on our Punks for Progress channel. So it is the weekly What the Fuck report.
What the fuck?
So we do, the podcast, when we started it, was just you and me shooting the shit, bro. Kind of every week about what we thought about what happened the week before, and we'd throw up one picture, and that was our show.
Because we're pulling our hair out. I have no hair now.
Right. And then it just, as time progressed, the show got a little more elaborate. We started doing more video and with editing, and like the show started kind of getting geared towards more like one specific topic or two specific topics maybe per show, and we ultimately kind of got away from just shooting the shit about what happened in the world of politics the week before. And
and I kind of missed it.
Me too, man. So we're now doing the weekly What the Fuck report. I'll be up every week. It's our fucking janky Sunday show, and but
don't
we're still going to
expect a lot of images. Expect you just hear us talking shit, no music.
Right, but you'll at least get up to date on what happened this week, and then you'll get our bullshit wackadoodle impression.
Why the fuck you'd want to listen to that?
Right. But we'll keep doing Punks for Progress too, shows like this one right here and the Antifa show. And we got.
And wait, are we going to do an anarchy show coming up too?
Anarchism. Yep. We got a 2-part show.
You're gonna have to break that down for me. I've got a big old A tattooed on my arm, and people hit me up about it. And I tell them,
I'm going to give people a history from the First International in 1864, which ultimately led to the cohesive kind of congruence of the school of thought of anarchism, where Bakunin and the ideals and the followers of Proudhon and all these kind of people coalesced, and the lines between Marxism and anarchism were drawn. So from the very, very beginning of when anarchism started, I'm going to get us from there, and then we're going to understand the basic ideologies of what anarchism is and what isn't, and that's essentially, that should take up probably the vast majority of the first show. And then the second one, we're going to get into really get into what is the difference between socialism and anarchism, and what are the different concepts and ideas out there already proposed for how to implement anarchism or socialism or whatever. So it's a lot of information, but we're going to do our best to really break it down into like everyday dude man terms. You know what I mean? And,
well, that's kind of like my job. You break it down to me and make it so I can understand it in regular old dude man terms.
Yeah.
So, right on, man.
Cool. Hey, you know what? I love you, bro.
I love you too, man. That was a good show.
It was.
All right. Have a good one, bro.
Right.
Take care.
I'm going to grow ideas.
Grow ideas. Peace out, guys.
Hi, neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Well, maybe if I press this button. This is a cassette player with a little cassette in here, and there's nothing written on it, so we'll just have to play it to see what it is. Do you ever imagine things? Are they scary things? Are they scary things? Do you ever imagine things? Things you'd like to have? Did you ever see a cat's eyes in the dark and wonder what they were? Did you ever pretend about things like that? Did you ever pretend about things like that? Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? In the garden of your mind. You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. In the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow. Imagine every person that you see is somewhat different from every other person in the world. Some can do some things, some can do others. Did you ever think of the many things you've learned to do? Many things. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow. Did you feel like going like that? Let's get give the fish some food. Mr. McFeely, I didn't order any whistles. That's what they call a slide whistle. Don't you feel like going like that? There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn, and so many people who can help us learn. Did you ever grow anything in the garden of your mind? In the garden of your mind. You can grow ideas in the garden of your mind. In the garden of your mind. It's good to be curious about many things. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think. You can think about things and make believe. All you have to do is think, and they'll grow.